Hello, I'm Jenelle Porter, Mannion Family Senior Curator at the ICA. I'm going to take you through the Barry McGee exhibition. Barry McGee began sharing his work in the 1980s on the streets of his Mission District neighborhood in San Francisco. Here he developed his talents as a graffiti artist, often under the tag name Twist. This show is a chronological survey of McGee's work that traces the artist's development over the past 2 decades. As we move through the exhibition, you will see that McGee uses a vocabulary drawn from comics, hobo art, sign painting, and graffiti, as well as painting styles that range from abstract to figurative, from pop to op art. McGee also explores a contradiction central to his art: graffiti made for the urban landscape and art made for gallery walls. McGee's work elegantly bridges these often distinct categories. One of the first works you'll encounter when entering the exhibition is an installation of hundreds of framed drawings, prints, found objects, and photos. The diversity of objects and the cluster style of the installation show McGee's commitment to representing the many voices of his urban neighborhood. The work functions a little like the experience of any teeming city, a layered atmosphere filled with people, signs, buildings, sounds, and smells. When McGee was young, he worked at a print shop, setting up steel trays with type. In his early work, he used the trays as canvases on which to paint his signature portraits. Later, he used the trays to cover walls and even to construct sculptures. In 1992, McGee created an outdoor wall painting at the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts in San Francisco. It included images of floating figures and everyday objects set against a red background. Barry has long used the color red for several reasons, one of which was that he loved tagging the red doors of San Francisco's Chinatown. The mural is visually chaotic and feeds off the energy, hope, and despair of urban life. McGee was part of a loose group of artists known as the Mission School, or the New Folk, descriptors that designated both a particularly local sensibility, here the Mission District, and a marginality akin to folk or self-taught art. McGee constructed the shack from steel print trays upon which he painted a desperate figure who was either kneeling or crawling on the ground. Inside this little house is a grouping of artworks by McGee's late wife, artist Margaret Kilgallen. For McGee, installing Kilgallen's work in the exhibition is a way of bringing her energy into the space. McGee often represents San Francisco's homeless population through his portraits. The down-and-out faces painted with painstaking individuality on each of these bottles reflect the artist's near-daily encounters in his neighborhood. McGee's installations have become grander in scale over the years to include overturned vehicles, dumpsters, and even bodegas. A wooden bus on display are objects McGee collected for a time. Eventually, he thought the only way he could improve upon them was to add this moving arm. The action is sort of dumb and comical, and the artist talks about these sort of primitive figures in the same way that graffiti is considered to be a somewhat primal activity. In 2003, McGee's body of work makes a radical shift from his signature characters and monochromatic color palette. In this work, which the artist calls the boil, individually framed drawings, photos, prints, and paintings come together in a huge mass of imagery. McGee continues to experiment with new materials, and in this work, he constructs a tower of 136 televisions. The videos were composed by Josh Lascano. The imagery ranges from slideshow-type animations of McGee's drawings to security footage from a record store to Central American gang initiation brawls to 1980s footage from a goth club in northern England. It's loud and raucous and visually intense. In this teeming final installation, McGee strategically usurps the authority of the museum with a dose of self-consciousness regarding his own artistic success. It was entirely installed by the artist in what he calls a sort of art show in a rec center, or the Boston Contemporary Art Center. McGee makes use of the furniture and white walls of traditional museum trappings, albeit in a satirical way, and piling his own surfboards in the corner. Work by other artists fills the space and even includes 3 Boston graffiti writers who show their work in solo display cases. Thank you, and I hope you'll visit the Barry McGee exhibition at the ICA on view through September 2nd. Please visit our website at icaboston.org for more information on all the programs this summer at the ICA.